ACC, Pac-12 having some discussions on a possible merger now or maybe 5 years from now? According to Forbes, that would be a good idea, an article that came out last night. We're going to be discussing it here on episode 156 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, if you need that little bit of extra content to get you through the day, subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, share the video with your family and friends. Today, we're going to be talking here in episode 156. Merger between the ACC and the Pac-12. What do we think here at PATC? What do we think about that possibility? Not so much. However, we're going to be discussing the article in Forbes that came out last night. I want you to put down your thoughts and comments in the comment section below the video, especially if you disagree with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Let's get straight to the article. We're not going to go through the whole thing. We will put a link in the description box below the video of the article. The Pac-12's leadership needs to ink a new media deal, then start ACC merger talks. Last week, in a show of solidarity, the Pac-12 conference presidents issue a statement saying a new media rights deal will be out soon, and no one is leaving. Arizona, Arizona State, Cal, Colorado, Oregon State, Stanford, Utah, Washington State are all sticking together as they watch USC, UCLA head off to the Big Ten in 2024. Now, Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff's goal is to work with Amazon, ESPN, and a few potential mystery partners in the hopes of beating the Big 12 deal done with Fox and ESPN that pays about $31.7 million per school for the next 6 years. At the moment, new Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark has not hidden his plans to expand west and look at the possibility of adding some Pac-12 schools. Meanwhile, it is expected that sometime, perhaps no later than April, San Diego and SMU will be invited to join the Pac-12. For now, those two seems to be where the Pac-12 will stop and then take time to consider other potential members. But the Big 12 targets are Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, making up what the media has dubbed the Four Corner Schools, which Yormark would like to add to his conference. The question is, those four schools are far more valuable to the Big 12 than a few $1 million they might get for moving, so why move? The answer is there's no reason for any of the Big 12 members, including the Four Corner Schools, to leave the conference at this point, says Florida-based media consultant Jeff Edwards. What the conference needs is to stay together and quickly ink a new 4 or 5 year media rights deal as we see how the college realignment saga plays out. I think that staying together and using that time to engage the ACC in talks about a future merger or alliance, is in the best interest of both conferences. The chance to join the Big Ten will be there 4 years from now. Last summer, the ACC and the Pac-12 had detailed conversations about a partnership involving a championship football game between the two conferences, as well as other basketball and Olympic sport events that could land both leagues a better media rights deal as UCLA and USC left for the Big Ten. At that time, there were too many moving parts to go further, plus the ACC rights deal that pays each school $36 million through 2036 seemed a massive obstacle. It was actually the ACC, and more to the point, the University of North Carolina, that brought up the idea of this merger. Andrew Carter, the new News and Observer, last reported that university leadership at North Carolina floated the idea of super conference between the ACC and the Pac-12. Should we explore a partnership with the Big 12 or the Pac-12? North Carolina Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham texted University Chancellor Kevin Gusowich. We could have a super conference both athletically and academically, Gusowich responded. Probably would need to be called the Atlantic Pacific Athletic Conference, the APAC. Maybe that's crazy. But if it would get us a better TV deal, it may be worth considering, he continued. And that's the money shot of this article. Maybe that's crazy, but if it would get us a better TV deal, it may be worth considering. So if it doesn't give you a better TV deal, and that's where we're heading. And finally, we need to think about what outcomes we want. What are our priorities? Do we want to maintain all the teams in the ACC? Again, this is Cunningham and Gusowich talking, University of North Carolina leadership. Is this a new league? Do we want to have the same number of teams at each school? Should we play a national schedule, a regional schedule? Cunningham question. Again, this conversation was going on after it was announced that UCLA and USC left for the Big Ten. This was happening June 30th. News and Observer got this information through FOIA. They got the communications between Cunningham and the Chancellor of North Carolina. They also got the communications between Jim Delaney and Cunningham. Jim Delaney, the former Big Ten commissioner, and Jim Delaney was advising Bubba Cunningham to be patient. Just be patient. Back to the article, there remains an open channel between the ACC and the Pac-12 about ways they can work together in the future. Merger talks are not a dream or a media hyped story. There's clearly room for serious conversations. And then we didn't go through all of the article. But let's just end it here. There's a very ambitious plan and many things have to go right. A Pac-12 and ACC merger, but key people on both sides think it's worth exploring. So Pac-12 needs to sign a new media deal and start being creative with the ACC to see what comes next for both leagues. Well, I've got some comments on this story. And again, I want you to put down your thoughts, your opinions of what you think. How credible is this? A possible ACC Pac-12 merger now and in 5 years from now? Well, first of all, there's not going to be any merger happening now because if you join the ACC, you have to sign that grant of rights that goes to 2036. The ACC conference owns the individual media rights of all their schools until 2036. A merger doesn't change that. ESPN is not looking to bring on 10 Pac-12 schools under their umbrella for their media rights in a merger with the ACC. Not now. Pac-12, ESPN barely has any interest to grab more than just a slice of the Pac-12 content right now. A merger doesn't change that. ESPN doesn't have to open up, and they won't open up their media deal right now, their current media deal with the ACC, if they bring on new members. They're not obligated to crack that open. Why would they crack that open? How much interest does ESPN have with the 10 Pac-12 schools right now? They have enough interest to possibly have a slice of that Pac-12 media deal, right? They have some night games. But they don't want the whole enchilada. They don't, a merger going from the Pac-12 to the ACC does not change ESPN's evaluations of those 10 schools. So why would ESPN be for a merger? Why would Oregon and Washington sign off on an ACC deal that would get them to a grant of rights to 2036 if ESPN's not going to crack open and renegotiate, which they're not going to do? Why would Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Florida, North Carolina, and Virginia bring on all these new members? What is in it for them? Would ESPN want to build the ACC network out in the Pacific Coast? ESPN's president just said ESPN's going to be more selective now. They have to be more selective in this tightening media environment that we're in. They're not looking. ESPN is not interested. ESPN says no to a merger right now of Pac-12 and ACC. There's so many reasons why it's not going to happen now. Okay, so what about 5 years from now? Like Forbes said in this article, from their perspective, they believe that the Pac-12 should get a deal done now. Get a deal done now for 4 or 5 years. Work on this merger with the ACC. So it happens 5 years from now. What's going to happen 5 years from now? If it doesn't happen before, there are schools in the ACC that are going to do everything they can to jump over the wall. They're not looking to stay for a merger of a 24-team conference with the Pac-12. They're looking at other landing spots, the top brands of the ACC. So the merger between the ACC and the Pac-12 is not happening now. It's not going to happen 5-6 years from now. That is a strongly held opinion here at Peak Around the Corner. No merger between the ACC and the Pac-12. An alliance, some more scheduling, partnerships, possibly. But a merger, no. ESPN says no. Florida State says no. North Carolina says no, even though they had the conversations and they brought up the idea of a super conference between Gusowich and Cunningham. Remember, Gusowich said, the North Carolina chancellor, even in this Forbes article, it makes sense if we could get a better TV deal out of it, a super conference with the Pac-12. Well, guess what? North Carolina is not going to get a better TV deal by forming a super conference with the Pac-12. So in our strongly held opinion, once again, it's not happening. Again, put down your comments in the comments section, especially if you disagree with us. Until next time, we're going to keep covering all of these stories here at College Football. But until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.